Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Heldman. I'm an occupational therapy assistant and assistive technology professional. I work at the Wood County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and today I'm going to be talking about smart speakers and home automation. It's important for you to note that I'm recording this on March 4th, 2026. And the reason I bring that up is if you know anything about assistive technology, you know that it's always changing. So products and ideas that I share today may not be available tomorrow, and new things are probably coming out as we speak. So I just want you to be mindful that these are ideas for you. However, it's important to kind of make sure that they still exist before suggesting them to individuals. So I'm hoping that by the end of this, you'll be able to identify at least 3 functional benefits of using smart speakers for individuals with disabilities, describe some low-cost home automation options that support independence, and explain safety and privacy considerations when implementing voice-controlled technology. So what is a smart speaker? A smart speaker is a voice-activated device that responds to commands. So some examples of this that you may be familiar with are the Amazon Alexas or Google Nest and Apple HomePods. Full transparency that I am most familiar with the Alexa and Nest products and have limited knowledge about Apple HomePod. Some considerations when you're choosing a smart speaker. Do you want to have a screen or no screen? And oftentimes the way we help determine that is to decide where the device will be housed. So if the device is going to be in a bedroom or a bathroom, for example, we often will recommend, or we do recommend, that we select a device that does not have a screen. Having a screen means that it has a camera function on it. And because we do private and intimate things in bedrooms and bathrooms, we don't like for cameras to be in there. Do you need for the caregiver to be able to drop in and talk to the individual through that device? If so, that is available on an Alexa device, but to my knowledge is not available on Google or Apple. The size of the screen. So does the individual need some accessibility features like magnification of a screen? There are, little tiny screens all the way up to ones as big as my computer screen. And then the compatibility with existing technology or home automation that you may already have. So for example, if you are using an Amazon Fire Stick for your television, then you probably want to go with the Alexa smart speaker versus if you're using a Google Chromecast for your television, you'd want to go with the Google Nest. A lot of the ancillary devices that you add on to the smart speakers can work with all the brands, but some of the things just don't play nice together. So for example, Fire Stick television is not going to play nice with the Google Nest. So they don't like to compete with one another. So some common smart speaker uses are reminders, alarms, weather and assistance with dressing. So not only can you ask your smart speaker, what's the weather today, but you can ask a follow-up question and say, do I need an umbrella today? And they'll say, yes, you do. There's an 80% chance of rain, or no, you don't. It doesn't look like there's rain in the forecast. Do I need a coat today? So for individuals that are having a hard time choosing their clothing, they can ask more nuanced or specialized questions. Calendar orientation. So if you sync your calendar to your smart speaker, you can ask, what's on my calendar today? What do I have going on? You can use your smart speaker to keep lists, to gather information, to play music, and then you can use it for smart home controls and prompting routines. We'll talk more about that, but what I mean by routine is maybe I say, good morning, Alexa, and Alexa says, good morning, Sarah. Today is Wednesday, March 4th. This is the weather for today. It looks like it's going to take you about this long to get to work, so you should leave by this time. And by the way, I started your coffee for you. So you can say one thing, and the routine may activate a bunch of different things. You can also use smart speakers to communicate with others, audibly or with video as well. So what is home automation? Home automation devices can be controlled remotely or automatically and are often paired with a smart speaker. You don't necessarily have to have a smart speaker. Some of them have apps or remotes that can work, but many of them can be activated through the smart speaker using your voice as well. So some common home automation tools are lights, locks, vacuum cleaners or mops, thermostats, televisions, video doorbells, cameras, smart plugs, appliances, motorized blinds, and curtains. So lots and lots of different things that we can add on, and there's even more than that. So some basic components, smart speakers, excuse me, work with voice recognition. So you do need to have a Wi-Fi connection, and then you link apps or devices, and you may have to add a skill to integrate that ancillary device into your smart speaker. So as an example, a Casa brand smart plug, which is a common brand of smart devices, you add the Casa skill into your Alexa, and then the Casa and the Alexa will play nice together. You can also set up routines. Those types of control, voice activation, including the use of AACs. So if an individual's voice is not clearly understood by Alexa, Google, Apple Home, you can prompt those devices using an AAC device. You can also use smartphone apps to control devices. You can have automation routines. So maybe, again, maybe I say one thing, or my AAC says one thing and it does 5 different ancillary device prompts. And then you can use switch or button access. So for example, the flick buttons. Flick buttons is a product that only plays nice with Alexa. Not sure why, that's just the way they integrate together. So flick buttons are photoed here. It's a button that's a little bit larger than a quarter, and you program that. So when I hit this button, this will happen. So it's a cause and effect thing. You program this on the back end in your Alexa app. So when I press this button, it's going to turn my lights on and off. Or when I press this button, it's going to lock my doors. Or when I press this button, 5 things are going to happen. What I have found is that these buttons are kind of small. So for some of the folks I'm working with, it seems common that if they don't have clear speech, they also may have some limited fine motor control to be able to press that button. So what I have done as a workaround is kind of 3D printed some big circle discs that set over top of that flick button so it can still be activated with a larger target. So some supports for folks with physical disabilities that you might consider are voice controlled lighting, smart plugs for appliances, thermostat adjustments, door lock and a video doorbell, hands-free phone calls, and motorized blinds. So one example I like to share is working with a gentleman who is a night owl. He has on-site, on-call staff, meaning that they do go to sleep at a specific time. But this gentleman likes to stay up late, and he was having to wake up staff, like to turn his television off, to turn his lights off. He's not physically able to get up on his own to do that, but he does have a voice that's easily understood. So we set up, he has a Google device, and we set that up, and he is now able to turn his lights on and off, turn his television on and off, just using his voice. And he no longer has to wake the staff up to do that. Some supports for intellectual disabilities, routine reminders, medication prompts, visual timers, step-by-step task prompts, simplified communication, and custom routines. So again, giving that example of I say one thing like good morning, Alexa, and it turns on the lights, tells me the weather, and tells me what's on my calendar today. I really also prefer the Alexa for cooking. When you ask Alexa for a recipe, she will populate a bunch of different choices on your screen, and then you can further sort that down by things that are easy, things that are gluten-free, things that are vegan, whatever your preferences are. I usually go for easy. So if I say, Alexa, show me some recipes for mac and cheese, and then I would select easy to filter out some more. And then on the screen, I'm going to touch on the one that I think looks good. And what will happen is it'll actually give you a whole shopping list and then step-by-step directions of how to make that mac and cheese. From there, you can do a couple of things. You can save that recipe to come back to it later. You can add all of those ingredients to your shopping list to pull up when you're at the store, or you can start the recipe and it'll actually read the steps out loud to you step by step. So that is a great support for folks that are have struggle reading or following directions. Some supports for low vision and blindness, audible timers and reminders, audible news and audiobooks, voice dialing, thermostat and appliance control. Adjusting a thermostat is a very, very challenging thing to do with folks that have low vision and blindness. So when I can just say, hey, Alexa, or hey, Google, set all my thermostats to 70 degrees, that's so much easier than trying to figure out how to adjust a knob or buttons. Smart label integration is a very cool feature on the devices that have a camera. You can actually walk up to them and say, hey, Alexa, what is this? And she's going to say, it looks like it's a white pen, and she'll describe it to you. There are some safety and emergency applications in smart speakers. So some of the devices have the capability to call 911. That's usually a feature that you have to have turned on and sometimes pay extra for. You can have it call designated caregivers. So I can say, hey, Alexa, call my mom. The drop-in feature, this is a feature. So for example, I have an Alexa with a screen on it in my kitchen at home. Right now, I could get onto my phone, go into my Alexa app, and choose this drop-in feature under communication, and it would actually drop in on that Alexa. And I can see, my son is on spring break this week from college. I can see if he's in the kitchen. I can see if my dog's getting into anything. Or I can yell out and like, hey, what are you guys doing? Let's have a conversation. So that is a way for caregivers to drop in on the individual. It's important to remember with the drop-in feature where the device is located, and also teaching individuals that they can turn that feature off if they don't like for their caregivers just to be able to drop in on them unannounced. There are sensors and cameras that can help with safety and emergency applications. So sensors that alert to water overflowing or smoke, cameras to monitor for movement outside your home and then can let you know that that's happening. And then also medication reminders. Some considerations when you're choosing smart speakers and some of these ancillary devices are the availability of Wi-Fi. Again, those privacy concerns. There is a learning curve to using some of these, so making sure that the individual is on board and that their team is on board to help them utilize it. The cost of expansion. So for example, to my knowledge, the Google and Alexa products are a little bit more cost effective than the Apple products. Again, that device compatibility. So if you've got, Google everything, just stick with Google stuff. If you've got Amazon everything, stick with Amazon everything. And then one hiccup that we've run into a couple times is oftentimes these devices require two-factor authentication. So having a device like a smartphone or a tablet that either the individual has, their natural support has, or that the person installing it has to be able to set all of this stuff up. We run into a lot that a lot of our folks don't have smartphones, but sometimes you have to download things to be able to set these devices up. So one workaround that we've found with that is that we've set up Google phone numbers and things like that to get those authentication codes too. So quick case study here. Margaret is 76 years old and has shown signs of decreasing cognition. She occasionally forgets to take her medication, leaves lights on overnight, forgets to lock her doors frequently, and has lost her key. She's missing appointments and she's feeling anxious in the evenings. So I want you to think about how can a smart speaker and home automation help Margaret remain as independent as possible? So if you're willing, I'd love for you to pause the video for a minute and give this some thoughts, and then unpause when you're ready to hear some of the solutions that I came up with. Okay, did you give it some thought? Let's see if we came up with some of the same things. So, daily orientation and routine support. So, using that smart speaker. Um, if Margaret says good morning, the device responds with the date and time, the weather forecast, any scheduled reminders she has, and it encourage an encouraging orientation cue. So, for example, today's Tuesday, you have your book club at 2 o'clock. The second thing, medication management. So, custom reminders at specific times of day, reminding her to take her medication. And then Margaret can actually respond back to the smart speaker and say, okay, I took my meds. And if she doesn't, then it could keep reminding. Environmental control and safety. So, voice controlled lighting, automatic evening routine. So, lights turn on outside at sunset. And maybe at bedtime, it's automatically going to shut off the lights and lock her doors. And then because she keeps forgetting her keys or losing her keys, using a smart lock that has a biometric feature, as well as the ability for a 4-digit code. So biometric is when I can just put my fingerprint on there and it's going to unlock the door for me. And a 4-digit code is a number that I have to put in to be able to access. I really love those biometric codes because we don't forget our fingertips, right? And then also the one that we've used the most, the Yale lock, it's got like a little raised lip around that biometric. So I've actually used that with an individual that has a visual impairment too, because she's able to tactily feel where to put her finger, and that's been a really great solution. Emergency communication, Margaret can say, call Sarah if I'm her natural support, or I need help. And the device can help navigate that for her. And then some ways to prevent or help with that evening anxiety. Maybe she has a relaxation routine where it can play soft music or white noise. It can prepare her to get her medication ready for the next day. And then a gentle cue to remind her that it's time to start winding down for the night and getting ready for bed. As always, if you have any questions, we are here to help, happy to help. Remote support at woodcountydd.org will reach out to our entire occupational therapy team.